take years to get an answer. It took like 3 months to get an answer.
And because of that,
so y'all just heard what it said. It normally takes years for them to get an answer off of data because of most people getting infected, whatever it is, for any trials that they done did in history before. But this time, it took 3 months for them to get the answer and decide, okay, we're going to do a vaccine program. We got all the data we need in 3 months, so we're going to give it to the people.
One of the other big concerns that people have had and that, we'd love to have an answer for is how do you answer the concerns around long-term effects? Is there the possibility of some long-term side effects here that, 2, 3, 5 years down the line, oops, we made a mistake, but now it's too late?
So the situation with long-term adverse events, it's literally unheard of in the history of vaccinology to get vaccinated in 1992 and to get an adverse event in 1997. I mean,
that don't make no sense. So you telling me it's never really heard of? Look at anything, Tylenol. I mean, look at all the recalls on medicine that you hear about, these class action lawsuits from just regular over-the-counter drugs because they cause serious health problems in people since the beginning of time. You'll see a class action lawsuit. Just Google it if you don't believe me, and then you'll see that they happen later, years later. Okay, even if you're doing surgery, just say you did a hip bone surgery or whatever else, and the titanium rod end up rotting. I mean, y'all, you see all these class action lawsuits. This ain't from short-term stuff. This is the long-term effects of it. But I guess it's rarely heard of. But that's Dr. Fauci. I mean, he's way smarter than me. He knows what he's talking about. But that don't sound right to me. I'm not the brightest bunch in the barrel. So
it doesn't happen. If you look at the situation with the most common types of adverse events, about 90+% of all of them occur within 30 to 45 days following the vaccination. And for that reason, the FDA has...
Okay, so he said for most of the people in the trials, their effects occurred between 30 and 45 days after they gave them this experimental doses. And that's before they issued it to us, of course. But 90% of those cases, what about the other 10%? Because you give, just say 3 billion people the vaccine, 30 to 45 days, they experience, side effects. What about that 10%? That's say 3 million. That's over 300,000, right? Or is it 30,000? It's one of them, but that's still a lot of people who having serious effects who probably did die, but that 90% is going to just experience side effects within those 30 to 45 days.
Baked into the approval process of an emergency use authorization that you have to wait 60 days from the time that half of the people who are vaccinated got their last dose before you even let it out to other people. So you're already days behind the outer limits of when the overwhelming majority of adverse events historically occur.
So the role.
Okay, so what he just said was, to fast forward it for you, that since they started them in December, they waited 60 days before any adverse effects from it. So we're safe because they already went through all their side effects. So now we can take it safely.
Process is happening here in North Carolina. We are still in phase 1A and they're just now moving to phase 1B this week. How are we doing with the rollout process? What's your assessment? And do you think it's going to get faster, get slower? What are your thoughts?
It's going to get much faster. I mean, if you look at it, I think it's probably unfair. First of all, we're not where we want to be. We've got to do better. So in all honesty and humility, we've got to say that. However, it almost certainly is going to get much better, because if you look at any big program that you start, there are always bumps in the road and hiccups that occur.
Yeah, you're right.
You superimpose upon that the fact that it was started in the middle of the holiday season. Try to get something done really efficiently between Christmas and New Year's. Doesn't work very well. There were supposed to be 20 million doses that were shipped 14 million was shipped, and we got to 20 a few days after
20
the
million
first
that was
of the
shipped.
year. We've only put into the arms of people 4 million doses. We would have liked to have gotten 20 million doses in. But if you look at the last 72 hours, there have been about 1.5 million doses in the arms of people, which means that there are an average of 500,000 a day.
500,000 people
if we
getting
had
vaccinated.
done that right from the beginning, we would have been where we want to be. So even though I think there are going to be challenges ahead, I think you have to really assume, and I think reasonably so, that things are going to get much better than they are right now. Regarding vaccination,
how would we best be able to talk to people about, okay, you're going to get your vaccination, but you're still going to wear your mask.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk to us about why that is and how long we should still expect to be wearing masks if we're all getting vaccinated?
Yeah.
So the primary endpoint upon which the vaccine was approved, the 94 to 95% efficacy, was based on the prevention of clinically recognizable disease.
Okay.
Namely, did you get any symptoms? You can get infected and get no symptoms.
So after getting vaccinated, you telling me I can still get affected? I got to wear the mask, but it's going to stop me from clinically recognizable diseases, but not COVID? Sounds familiar, right?
What we haven't proven yet, and we hope to within a reasonable period of time, but it has not been proven yet, that the vaccine actually prevents you from getting infected. It could.
So it's been issued out. 20 million people, millions of people getting vaccinated every day, and it still hasn't been proven yet. But y'all don't rewind back early, when you say all the technological advances that we made, that's how we was able to create this vaccine. They had all the data in 3 months, but you still haven't proven yet. And we've been vaccinated people pretty much since December. December, January, February, March. That's over 3 months again. But the data that you came up with to create the vaccine, you telling me now it's already been past another 3 months that you don't have the data to say, okay, if it works to keep you safe from COVID. Okay.
Prevent you from getting clinically ill and still allow you to have an asymptomatic infection.
Yeah.
So since you might have an asymptomatic infection, that's why you need to continue to wear a mask. Also, you may be one of the 5% in which the vaccine was not effective. That's another reason for wearing a mask. Okay. We'll be able to pull back on the stringency of the but the public health messages. When you get such a large percentage of the population are vaccinated that you have a protection of herd immunity, so that the level of vaccine is so low in the community that the risk of your getting infected is very low. We're not there right now. I've been vaccinated, yet there were 200,000 to 300,000 cases of COVID in the community yesterday.
Oh man,
so
yesterday?
There's still a big risk out there.
And
that's the reason why I still, wherever I go, wear my mask.
Okay.
When it comes to that herd immunity that you talk about, I don't want to be pessimistic, but what if we don't reach that herd immunity status? And what if there are a contingent of people out there who are just like, I'm not going to get the vaccine, and we don't reach that status? What do we do?
Well, you would still, if you get a substantial proportion, but not the 70 to 85% that I talk about, you would still have a major impact on bringing down the level of infection. Herd immunity means that there is so much immunity that there's almost no virus. So instead of getting it and smashing the virus with the herd immunity, you're going to get a level of virus that's much lower than it is now, but not as low as you want it.
Our age group has a lot of, women who are thinking of becoming pregnant, or
small children,
or have small children, and they're concerned about their health.
Yeah, we have a 2-year-old, but there are no studies for kids. Is there a timeline for studies on pregnant people and children?
Or are there any recommendations there?
There are no data yet, and the reason there are not is that
because you can't experiment on kids and pregnant people. That's why it's not and it's not recommending to give you that vaccine yet, because you won't have no data in there. I mean, it's too risky. You know, now that'll be too public if adverse effect happened to a small child or a pregnant woman.
Women and children are vulnerable populations. And when you're dealing with a vulnerable population,
protected,
you've got to be very sure that the product, in this case, the vaccine, is both safe and effective in a normal adult population. Once you show that, after a few months go by and we know there's no unexpected issues, then you do a phase 1 and a phase 2A trial in children as well as in pregnant women, and prove that it's safe and prove that it induces the same kind of response that protects non-pregnant adults. Okay. Once you show that, then the FDA can, by bridging those two studies together, can approve it for children and approve it for pregnant women.
Makes sense.
Great.
And then the last thing, because I know we're coming up on your time here, the last thing I just wanted to ask is, obviously you are a person who is in high demand and in very high stress situations right now. Yeah. So how do you de-stress over the last year? What have you been doing when you're not on camera around the clock answering these questions?
Well, it's been a very unusual year because I have not had a day off since January 15th, and that includes every Saturday and Sunday. And I average about 18 hours a day. So I don't really have time to unstress. But the one thing I do is every night I run with my wife about 3 miles, 4 miles. So sometime tonight around 8:30, there are going to be 2 people running in the dark around Northwest Washington, D.C. And that happens to be me and my wife.
Good for you.
Yeah, I'm glad that you at least are able to carve off a little bit of time for yourself.
Well, that sounds pretty good. I mean, obviously he healthy at this age. I don't even know what his age is, and he's able to run 3 miles with his wife. But that's healthy right there at his age, just to do all that. But I'm pretty sure he's not stressed, or he can't de-stress because he's giving out all this information. And of course he has his bosses and he got to provide for the people and stuff like that. But y'all heard what he said, man. You get this vaccine, and I'm not really against it. I just need more data to say, or tell my family members or my kids or my wife, my kid, anybody I know to say, yes, I think it's safe to take it. Just as a nutritionist myself, just as a trainer, as a coach, and just as a regular human being, man, you need more data before you can take anything that's experimental and inject it in your body. So just be safe out there, man. Y'all heard it. Y'all heard it from the man himself. You watch my other 2 videos, you'll have a little more information about it. I guess this is be review. I can't call it part 3 of that COVID-19 vaccination video, but this is just a review of the Game Theorists video or interview he did with Dr. Fauci. It's your boy Cutting That Shit. DM me, man, if y'all got any questions, comments, concerns, like, subscribe, and follow at Evolved in Life. And just stay safe, stay educated, stay woke, people. We out.